Welcome to episode 27 of the Sober Stretch podcast, the podcast for anyone with a difficult, complicated relationship with alcohol. We are your hosts. I'm Gary. This is Craig. I'm 10 years sober. Craig, too. We don't fuck about. We just tell the real story on sobriety and alcoholism. Craig, how you doing, mate?
Yes, I'm good, mate. Yeah, I'm sweet. Weather's a fucking joke every weekend.
That's
But
grim.
Matt, I swear, like it's nice all week, and then it comes to the weekend, and someone's just like, "Yeah, fuck it, let them have it."
You let him have it, yeah. Yeah, 12 degrees, mild all week, Saturday morning, pissing down with rain.
You know, mate. But no, I'm good. I'm good. You?
Yeah, good. Got the Christmas tree up yesterday. Feeling more festive than I've ever felt. Probably because we've got a bay window and the Christmas tree can just go nicely in there. And that alone has made me think, oh, my life has finally turned into the McAllisters from Home Alone. Mate, it's about 8 foot tall. It's massive.
Yeah.
And yeah, what else did we do? Went to see Moana 2 yesterday, which was good. And then came back and watched a certain football match, which we won't talk about.
No talking about it now.
No.
Hammer him out. That's all I'm saying.
Ruben out. Get bent, mate.
Useless brat. No, that sounds good. So I can't relate with the Christmas festivities and all that. Matt, I don't not one bit,
No.
one bit. And I think each to their own. But no, it's not. I don't get into it at all.
Mate, I if it hadn't
I
been,
can't wait for it to be over.
normally I'm like that, I have to say, but as the kids get older, and I don't know, I'm more festive than I used to be, and I'm still not that festive, but I don't know, just watching them play around the tree yesterday was quite cute, you know.
Oh mate, if I had kids, I would love it. I would love it because it's all for them. But if you ain't got kids, you know what I mean? I'm 32. I'm thinking, Jesus, I need to start breeding soon.
Mate, when I was 32, I was still a washed up piss artist. Don't worry, man. I was 40 when Nancy was born, so you'll be all right.
Oh, mate, that's what I needed to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, sick. Right, so today we're going to pick your brains about being 10 years sober because you can hear at the start of every episode how Gary gives it the big one, saying he's 10 years sober and I'm 2 years sober. So I said it last week, I've never really picked his brains or asked him about certain things. I just kind of like go my own way, but I think it would be useful to ask a man of 10 years of experience a few questions about what everyone could have doubts in your mind, and hopefully this man should be able to put everyone's minds at rest.
I hope so. I'll do my best. The pro.
So I haven't actually got any questions written down, obviously, because I'm a absolute joke. So I'm just going to wing it. But
mate, wing it. This is our style.
You know. But I'm just going to ask questions that are relevant. I'm not going to get all deep. And what I should have done is probably ask ChatGPT to and pretended that I thought of it myself. But now, the questions that I've got are, well, let's think of the first one. What was the hardest part about sobriety, and do you still, after 10 years, do you still ever get times where it's hard?
Well, I'll answer the second part first. No.
Yeah, 2-part question.
No, never. I never feel it hard anymore, ever. And I haven't felt like that for about 5 years, maybe. So I'm 10 and a half years sober, and I never feel like alcohol now has any kind of control or power over me whatsoever. Even, and I did wonder when I started SoberNSound and when we became friends and doing this, if dredging up the past would uncover some kind of undealt with trauma, or and it hasn't at all, honest to God. Like, I think about boozing all the time now because I'm trying to create content, but I'm only thinking of it from how to present it in a way that other people will find appealing. Never ever like, oh God, I'm so jealous, of the people that
Yeah.
are still drinking. So no, there is nothing, and I mean zero things that enter my head about
Hmm.
wanting to drink again. Which I think when you're in the very early throes of it all, you are inclined to think 10 years ahead, and that's why one day at a time is so important. But I
Yeah.
remember, and so it's connected. The hardest part was thinking that at the beginning, thinking that I would never be able to drink again.
Hmm.
That was the single hardest thing. That was the internal battle every single day in the early months. Walking to work, getting a craving halfway through a class, going home and walking past the bar. All of that was, my God, I can't actually do this ever again.
Yeah.
So I had that I was very good at staying in the one day at a time. I was really, really good at that. And I think that allowed me to shift my focus back every time I was going through something difficult mentally.
Yeah.
So yes, the two things that people want to know are are will this shit last forever? And am I going to miss out on all these amazing things? The answer is no to both things.
Hmm.
And when I say it was 5 years, I don't mean years 3, 4, and 5 were horrible. They were amazing. I was like flourishing and developing and
Yeah.
ridding myself of my past. But it takes a long time to piece your life together. But I was so in tune with that I just kept plowing through. So the
Mm.
hardest thing was imagining at the very beginning that, oh my God, this is a lifetime long commitment, which actually is the
Yeah.
wrong way of looking at it.
Yeah. 100%. I feel like people. I mean, we're all guilty of it in whatever we do. When we start something, we want, and the brain wants quick results, and it's not a quick result. And most things that are worth having, most sincere things, are not going to be quick results, are they? So then what you do is you think, fuck me, how long is this going to take then?
Hmm.
And you can kind of scare yourself, can't you, out of it?
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest reason people relapse for. Oh, I can't do it forever. So why am I even trying? So just, fuck it, I'll just have a drink. I'll just have a few today.
Yeah.
And then that cycle continues, and then you start beating yourself up more than normal because you're actively wanting to quit.
Yeah.
It just becomes a cycle of, ultimately, I don't like to use the word, but it's a bit of a weakness. You have to find the strength, which we'll talk about, but you have to find the strength to get through the early days. So you realize with time that your life will be better, more better than worse, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. 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 100%. It's hard to keep the faith in it when you're feeling so bad, and it's just crazy, isn't it? It's crazy, but I know exactly what you're saying and how important it is just to do one day at a time. Like, I couldn't express how important that is if I tried. It's crazy. And it can relate to other things in your life as well, can't it?
Hmm.
So one step at a time. And do you not, because I feel like a lot of people do, and sometimes I'll probably do, but in social situations, yeah. So you you never struggle with alcohol yourself, but do exterior influences ever affect you? Like, if you're somewhere and everyone is caning it or everyone's drinking and you're the only one that's not.
Hmm.
So yeah, you're not struggling to stay sober or anything like that. But does it ever affect you? Does it ever piss you off that people are getting hammered, or does it affect your relationships with other people and stuff like that?
Not really, no, because I early decided that I wouldn't continuously put myself in a position where lots of people are drinking. I
Mm.
decided and realized quite early that, that's not my life anymore. And there's more to life than A, drinking, and there's more to life than B, being around people that are drinking, because it's quite a nauseating experience. Because people are knobheads when they've had too much to drink. And I don't mean knobheads as in, everyone's kicking. Well, a lot of people know they kick off and they're a bit aggy and whatnot. But just the chatter and the nauseating nonsense that comes out of people's mouths when they're pissed.
Yeah.
there's just no reason for a sober person to be around it, really.
Yeah.
So bear in mind the first 7 years, 6 years of my sobriety were in Spain. It was very like, as I said, first 2 years I just didn't go out, and I think in those 2 years I kind of just nullified any future feelings of discomfort, because when I started to go out again, I was a 2 year sobriety machine. It was in the same position as you, really. I'd achieved so much in the first 2 years and cleansed my mind and got my body in better shape. And just my day to day practices were so solid that I don't mean I felt better than people. It's not the right word, but I just felt, I would look at people socially and think, oh, I'm so glad I've made this decision. I am right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
For me, and not probably also for a lot of other people, like there are a lot of people that are struggling out there. And I'm sure if I was at a party with 15 of my mates, I'd probably think that four of them were being wankers,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
maybe perhaps probably had to look at their drinking. Not that I was judging them at all. It was just an observation. So I wasn't throwing myself into those situations. And I think if you do the first couple of years or the first year or, months, do it right,
Mm.
you start to create a new life that doesn't really involve being around drunk people. And if you are around drunk people, you're probably not doing it right.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point?
Yeah. 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 I agree with you because I'm more obviously because of the differences in our lives. Your family man, and that's your priority, and that's what you enjoy to do, and that's what you do with your life. Yeah. So you're like yesterday, for an example, you said you went to the cinema with your kids and your missus and stuff like that. So that's your weekend, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas for someone that's I don't know if you're going to be offended, but for someone that's a bit younger,
No, not at all.
I was I was going to say something else, but I bottled it. But for someone that's younger and they don't want to let go of that sociable side, you're kind of putting yourself in a position where you're just making your life hard work by being
Mhm.
around it. It's almost like torturing yourself and making it harder for yourself. So what you've done is really good by completely eliminating that side of it.
It's a good point. And my angle is that there are more than one ways to one way. There is more than one way to socialize.
Yeah,
Because if you've got a heavy drinking history, the assumption is that the only way you can have fun and socialize and spend quality time with other people is through drinking,
yeah,
or like
yeah.
an experience that drink can be involved in.
That's the culture, isn't it?
Of course it is, yeah. So I think a lot of people at the beginning might think, "Oh, I can't socialize or have fun," and like people say, "But Gary, you didn't socialize for 2 years." Yeah, I mean, I still went for coffee,
Yeah,
occasionally, and I still met sober people, and I went to savory events in the evening. I lived in the south, deep, like Andalusia, like flamenco world. I'd go to a flamenco show,
yeah,
all these kind of things. I do loads of stuff like that.
yeah, man.
Go to plays, and as my Spanish got better and I could understand it more, I'd go to the cinema on my own and watch Spanish films. And then,
That's fucked. That's
and then you start to realize, okay, socializing is 100 possibilities, and one of
yeah,
them is drinking. So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's not that you stop socializing; it's just that your social life becomes different and just
yeah.
healthier. And
And
also,
you have to broaden your horizons, don't you?
you took the
Like
words out of my mouth.
we are so fucking narrow-minded. I mean, when I say we are, that's me, and I can't put a percentage of it, but a lot of the population that I know,
Yeah.
I think everything sociable is going to the pub or drink related, going for a meal, drinking wine, and that's a cycle that we've got stuck in since an early age. It's like that's what weekend is. It's just drinking and talking. You can't do one without the other.
Mm.
It's crazy, really, in a pub environment. And what I was going to say, because I was thinking about it when you was saying about you not putting yourself in them situations and people talking shit when they're drunk, is true, and it's not a dig at drunk people.
No.
When you've had a certain amount to drink, no matter who you are, you're going to start talking bollocks. I think that's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
You start losing yourself and becoming someone different and talking shit. So I think because we've been there and done it, trying to have a genuine conversation with someone who's had a few drinks, we know it's bullshit because we used to do it ourselves. So it becomes hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think everything around drinking as you continue to stay sober is a massive chore. Like going out is a chore because you're more concerned about what you'll have to contend with or witness or listen to, and it just becomes not worth it.
Mm.
And the joy, the JOMO, the joy of missing out actually becomes a significant thing as you repeat these mornings, especially at the weekends and Monday. And, you've got these overpowering, sensations of misery and depression on a Monday. To not have that is so good that you almost don't want to lose it. And then the Saturday mornings become more precious and more fulfilling than just the Friday night. So you end up making a choice. What do you want to do? If you don't go out on a Friday night, you're basically setting yourself up for a really nice weekend. And but people will be like, "Oh, well, what am I going to do if I don't drink on a Saturday?" How about you jump out a fucking plane, bro? It doesn't mean that you have to go to you don't have to go to a garden centre every Saturday.
I thought you was going to say, how about you tramp off a fucking bridge? But no, yeah. I get what you're saying.
And so that you're right. You think that we have to broaden our horizons, and then your horizons, as long as you stay sober and stay like tuned in and strong, your horizons broaden naturally anyway. Because there comes a point where you get sick of not going out.
Oh, mate, I remember that feeling when I woke up hangover free, withdrawal free for the first time, and fuck me, it was literally like, wow, the world is my oyster.
Mm-hmm.
I can actually do whatever the fuck I want with no anxiety, not feeling ill. Oh mate, it was bliss, and I still feel like it now, because sometimes I used to have like dreams that I'd gone out and fucked it. That's how bad it is. I used to have nightmares about relapsing. And I'd wake up and be like, thank fuck I did not, and I've got this day ahead of me. So yeah, crazy. Sorry, I was going to say, because this is going to interest me as well. I know a little bit about you, but as honest as you can, what sort of a person was you when you was drinking? Like, what was your life? What was your drinking schedule, and like as down to the bone as you can make it?
Wow. There was
what was your life like?
Yeah, there was a long period of my life when I lived in London, particularly. That let's use that as an example, because uni was just carnage. Obviously, it's just like student, no responsibilities.
Yeah.
Spend every penny, blah blah blah. Take every drug. But then in London, which was the predominant period of my life where my alcoholism just ruined everything and I was miserable, that kind of lifestyle. So I worked the whole time. I didn't find any of my jobs inspiring or motivating. I didn't give a fuck about any of it, to be honest. I worked in the furniture industry, commercial interiors, and it was an office job. So I was my weekends started on Thursday night, and my drink, okay, let's be honest. If I was awake and not in the office, I was drinking.
Yep.
All the time. Thinking about the next drink, finding the next drink, hiding the next drink, regretting the last drink, trying to find a pub for the next drink. It was just constant all the time. Every minute was, oh, I've got a drink so I can relax, or I don't have a drink so I'm not relaxed. You know exactly how that feeling. So my lifestyle was basically, I'd finish work, let's say, finish work on a Tuesday, go home, still depressed from the weekends, boozing and whatever else, and I would walk out of the office, walk straight to the off license, buy 2 cans to get me back home for an hour and a quarter. Depending on
Yeah.
where I lived, I'd sometimes, if the walk from the station to my house was 11 minutes, I'd come out of the station, get a can for that 11-minute walk. So I was kind of filling 10-minute voids, trying to fill 10-minute voids without booze with booze for about 15 years, really. So
Yeah.
there was no time to even put together a sobriety plan or a better CV or, like, sort out my finances, clean my room. There was just no time for that.
Yeah. Bro, I'm laughing and like I'm trying to hold back the laughing so much. I cannot tell you because I know exactly what it's like. That was literally me,
Hmm.
and that is fucked up. I know
Yeah.
I know how bad you felt, mate,
But
and
also,
it's
like, it's just
awful.
awful plotting and planning everything. But like, I know we're getting a curry tonight, so I'll be bloated after that, so I'll get a bottle of white wine to drink after I've had my curry. Like, everything
Yeah.
meticulously planned. Oh, we're going to a exhibition at the Tate Modern. Right, I've got two options. I don't go because I can't drink in there, or I take I take a Coke bottle with whiskey and Coke in it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it was like. It was every minute of every day of every year coping with
Oh, mate,
alcoholism.
mate,
No escape, nowhere to run, nowhere to run, baby. It was hell, really.
mate. Honestly, you couldn't have put it better. But oh, mate, I'm trying. It's actually hard to talk, but
Yeah,
I know how fucking bad it is. It is awful. You literally wake up and you're like, fuck, every day for years,
yeah, yeah. It's wild, isn't it? When
bro.
you
And
think,
then you've got no money and you've got to work out how the fuck you're going to get through the day without feeling like you're going to die if you don't have a drink. That's how I would feel sometimes.
and how did you
Honestly,
feel when I got the first one? How did you feel when you got that drink?
relieved just to be able to relate to you. I mean, there's so many bad examples, but one that I'm thinking of at the moment is when I was in Marbella, and you know, like everyone after a heavy holiday is just written off, and they're
Mhm.
just like, "Oh, I'm never drinking again. I'm never drinking again." I would feel like that, but I'd have to drink.
Oh yeah, same.
So I would feel so sick, and I would actually be sick, but I still had to drink.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, 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 yeah.
I was we were just about to get on the flight. I've gone through the gates, and I've started having the maddest shakes, and I'm pouring with sweat, man. And I've had to run out the gates, yeah, and buy a pint can of Heineken for like €5, and I was literally there like that, like trying to put my money over.
Hmm.
The plane was of the I did not give a fuck about if I didn't get on the plane or not. All my mates have gone through, and I've literally just cracked it open in front of everyone who was queuing and just soaked it, mate. I've not moved out the way of anyone else. I'm still at the till, and I've just absolutely necked it, mate. And then instant relief.
Yeah. I used to sometimes, honestly, I'd sometimes cry if I hadn't had a drink or I hadn't been able to access a drink, and I'd get one. It make me well up, or if I'd been struck, like if I, sometimes can you lend me 20 quid? Can you transfer it? And then you go and you buy a pint, and I just like weep sometimes, like, oh, it was
Yeah,
that
like
bad. It
what?
was
Like
that
thank
bad.
fuck. Yeah,
And obviously there were times where it was worse and then it was better, but when it was and yeah, but when it was bad, but when it was better, it was still awful. But because it was comparatively better, I was able to like semi-function. But yeah, that was my drinking life. So to get to 10 years, it's like I,
man.
I don't even think about it now. I don't even. I think I've said before, like my drinking anniversary, my sobriety anniversary is the 15th of April, and years 7, 8, even 9, I'd get to the end of April and I'd turn around to Gabby and be like, "Oh, I was 8 years sober a couple of weeks ago." So it just hadn't really
Yeah,
registered.
yeah, yeah,
The 10
yeah,
years there was this year with Sober and Sound just starting. It was a big deal.
yeah,
I was proud of it. It was also why I started Sober and Sound in a way to commemorate it and be able to then help people. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it was a long road of pure
yeah.
sadness, really.
It's interesting that it's 10 years ago, and the memories are still very, very, very vivid
Hmm.
in your mind, and you can remember them to a fucking T. Do you know what I mean? That just goes to show how much it impacted you.
Well, that's another good point. They have to be that vivid to keep me sober. I don't mean that I'm fighting it every day, but I'll give you an example. Do you know that liquid death sparkling water?
Heard of it? Don't
Yeah,
get
it's
it, but yeah,
it's in a beer size can, right? And I like it. I drank one walking down the street a couple of weeks ago, and I was in the supermarket at work the other day, and I was like, oh, I'll grab 4 severed lime. Got them home. They're in a really nice can, and I was drinking the first one in the kitchen, and my partner said to me, "God, it's really weird watching you drink that." Because it's a pint can and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's green and gold. It looks like one of those hard Polish cans, that
yeah, yeah.
Lech
Heck,
or
yeah,
Tiskia or
Lech,
something
yeah,
like.
that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Lech's the green one, isn't it?
yeah.
Um,
Not
and
Carlsberg.
no, and she was because she knew me when I was drinking. We were together back then, and it was an odd experience watching me drink it. She said. Now we went onto the sofa, watching telly in the evening. I mean, this was only 3 days ago, and I actually had another one, and I got to about a third of it left, and I just drained it. And the whole experience, it's not like drinking a can of Coke, the small one. It was the whole experience, and because I don't drink anything like that in that size can ever, I don't drink Monster or anything like that. The whole sensation of draining a can like that and holding it in the
Yeah.
bottom third, and then just popping it underneath, I was like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And she said, "What?" I said, "That felt like emptying a can." So
Yeah,
it was such like it's a programmed experience in my mind, and it just brought
yeah,
me
yeah,
straight
yeah,
back to it. And I've been sober for so long that I just said, "Oh, I'm not buying that again."
yeah,
And and if I do buy it, I'll just pour it out over ice
yeah,
into
yeah, yeah,
a pint glass and drink it like that. But the experience was so vivid that, like, the memory was so vivid
yeah.
that I instantly realised that that's something I can't do.
Mhm.
I'm not going to start drinking again, but I just don't want that association even in my mind. So,
I know.
we're talking about 10 years sober today. 10 years sober, you get that mild experience, it all comes flooding back.
Mad, yeah,
But I'm not going to go and then buy a can because it makes me, it
yeah,
titillates me.
yeah,
It
yeah,
actually
yeah,
repulses me, the idea. And so I'm just like, "Oof, right, that's that. That is a
yeah,
drink I can't drink, or I can only drink it out of
yeah,
a glass." So, yeah, you have to take action still occasionally.
yeah, 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 yeah. I think what you're saying is it's important to remember how fucking bad your life was. No matter how far down the line you get, you still need to know that alcohol fucked you up and still has
Yeah.
potential to ruin your life. Did you used to? Oh, I'm sure you did, but did you used to secret drink a lot?
Oh, yeah.
Was your life like quite heavy around drinking on the sly in situations where you shouldn't be drinking?
Hmm. Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Um,
That's hard, isn't it? Like
yeah.
that's you become a fucking pro at secret drinking, mate. I'm not proud of it, but I would if I was driving a long drive, I'd have to drink on the way and drink like Henry Westons in a clear bottle, mate. Bad whilst driving.
Yeah.
I needed to.
Well, I just didn't drive. Well, I lived in London for a long time, so I was like, didn't really in central enough, well, south. I lived in South London, but it was always easy to access, transport, easy, whatever. So I never really had
Mm.
an excuse to. I never really needed to drive. I'd use the underground or the buses. And then when I moved to Spain, you don't move to Spain and get a car. You just move to Spain and
Yeah,
walk everywhere and get pissed all the time.
yeah,
So I one thing now where I can just jump in a car at any moment. It's like a revelation now.
Yeah.
I can just I can drive any time I want because I've not got any alcohol in my system. It's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was a lot of secret drinking, a lot of choosing what to drink so it didn't smell. Certain girlfriends that I had in my 20s were not. Well, no girlfriend I ever had thought my drinking was cool, but there would be some where I would. Do you know what? This is how sneaky I used to get. In my early 20s, I lived with a girl, and I would drink. I'd drink a couple of whiskey and cokes before I went to bed. Was it? I think it was you. I might have mentioned it on the pod. I can't remember. Correct. Forgive me, everybody, if I said this 2 weeks ago. But I would
Yeah.
drink whiskey and coke. So in the morning, I smelled like whiskey and coke. So I could drink whiskey and coke on the sly, and then blame it on last night's.
Yeah.
So like the sneakiness levels. And when I was at home, sometimes I'd be downstairs, and at 8 in the morning, I'd go get a can, and I'd go as I opened it.
Yeah. Same. I used to do that, bro.
So no one would know I'd
Oh,
opened it. Yeah, I used to drink at lunchtime at work, and then like pack sweets and mints and stuff, and drank at work. Yeah, it was fucked, man. It was awful.
when did you? When was the moment where you realised that that was going to be it for you?
To stop drinking.
Mm-hmm.
That awful weekend I had in Granada on holiday. I went away for Easter weekend and stayed with a mate, and my flatmates came with me. My flatmates were well sick of me. Flatmate and the lad that lived downstairs, we went away for the weekend, and I had I'd broken up with Gabby 8 months prior, and I'd just basically drunk every minute since that had happened for 8 months, and my body was failing me really, and I knew I had to go back to work in a month, and it was just all failing me. My brain had failed, my mind had failed, my mental strength had failed, my physical. I was so overweight, and I was waiting really. I was almost drinking myself to drinking myself to the point where I had to quit. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
I felt like it was coming, and I felt like I was just going to keep caning it until I just couldn't do it anymore. But I knew it was coming. I knew something had to give, and I
Yeah.
knew
You're
if I
right. Yeah.
carried on, I was 33. I thought if I carry on like this, I'm going to be dead in a few years. But there was just that weekend in Granada where it all fell apart really. Got on the Mandy, 4 day session. I knew I shouldn't have gone. I said no originally to go in with everybody because I knew it was a bad idea. I'd been drinking white wine in the afternoon with my mate Rachel every day for about 5 days, and like just passing out at fucking 6 p.m. And they're like, "Oh, do you want to come to Granada?" And I had no money and I had no mental strength to cope with any of it. And I was like, "Yeah, all right." And when I got there, I met my best mate who lived there, and we were just on it straight away. And that night, I ruined it for everybody.
Liability.
Liability, but I was always like that. I could always ruin a night.
Yeah.
And I remember I had to get another hostel. It was all a bit of a blur the weekend, but I ended up in one hostel, and I remember waking up at like 7 p.m. and it was still light, and I wasn't really sure what time of day it was, where I was. And I went and I sat and I read a book in the foyer of the reception and thought, oh God, something really has to give. And 2 days later, I had my last drink. So yeah, it was like a weekend of being a wanker, really, for the how many umpteenth time. And
Yeah.
yeah, my body was giving me a message. I think my body was saying, "There has to get you have to stop. You have to."
Yeah. Body felt that fucked.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
don't know
Similar.
what was wrong with
Similar to
it, but
me.
I could just I felt different.
Yeah.
At that point, I was waking up at like 6 a.m. Wait, and if I had alcohol in the house, great. But there was a bar around the corner, the Crazy Gypsy it translates to, and they sell canyas, like half small glasses of beer for 50 cents. You're talking 40p for a beer, albeit a
Dream.
small one. And that opened at 7. And I
Dream.
remember I was going in there in the mornings at that time, and I was getting it, and my hand was shaking so much, I was spilling like a third of it. It
Yeah.
was, and I just thought, God, I'm a kid. I'm in my
Yeah.
early 30s. And I knew it was like spiraling. like how it's. I was 33, but at 23, I thought it was spiraling out of control.
Mm. Did you feel like you were stuck in a hole and you there was no way out of it?
I felt like that for like. I felt like I couldn't beat it forever. I think you'd
Yeah.
said this. I just resigned myself to the fact that I was going to be a drinker forever, and it might take my life early.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I kind of just went into a kind of a free fall of, well, I'll let the drink and I'll let the external forces take control of my life more than me.
Yeah, man. I
So
know
yeah, I had to
I know
give.
that feeling. No, that's good. And on terms of sobriety, because we focused on basically the sort of drinker you are. I know very well what sort of a bloke you was. What when you got sober? I've asked this a few times, but what was the hardest part in getting sober with regards to like withdrawals and stuff like that?
Wow.
Like,
Well,
how did you cope? Because life is fucking hard when you swear so much. When you first get sober, it is serious because you can end up the sort of drinker that you are or was, same as me. That that could really affect someone bad, like physically.
the first week was torture, and we've spoken about it before. I won't go into it too much, but the first week was torture. It was hell. Just that it all. I felt like I was possessed by a demon or something. I was I was lying in the hottest city in Europe, sweating with like all this Christian music and processions because of the time of year going past my house, and I didn't feel like I was on Earth for a few
Yeah,
days. So that was weird actually, because that I found the psychological element of it more difficult than the physical side at the beginning, because the physical tells you. I remember like I remember on day 4 or 5, I managed to get out of the house and I went to AA on day 4, but around that, in the first couple of weeks, I'd go and have a coffee, and the physical was giving the mental a message, like, this is
yeah,
so bad, you have to do something about it. So
yeah,
every time I was wanted a drink, I was able to remind myself that I had to win the mental battle, and I had to kind of ignore the physical demands from alcohol, because
yeah,
it was asking me all the time, go on, are you going to go for a drink? Are you going to go for a drink? Your body needs this. You got to go and do this. So, like, the battle between the mental and the physical at the beginning was fucking torture every day for months. But I won it. I won it. Was that your question? Was that?
yeah.
I don't know. I just went off on some impassioned
No, I
rant
liked it,
there,
man.
but
I was fucking like I felt like I was in a trance or something. I was just, you know what I mean, mate? It's because I can relate so much, man.
I
It's
just
fucked.
refused to lose because I know I had so much to lose. Probably my life,
Yeah,
There was some months before that where I walked around Valencia. I lived in the beach neighborhood, which was like a dangerous neighborhood comparatively. And I walked around just for about 3 or 4 hours looking for change on the floor so I could buy a big bottle of Amstel, which is about 160. So, there was, I'm trying to hark back to those moments and think, yeah, you are making the right decision. You do have a problem.
you know, that took so much strength because I know from experience, but that took so much strength for you to stay sober. When let's be honest, you've been an absolute loser, waste of space for 5, 10 years, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Longer.
How so how can you go from being such a what's the opposite of strength, such an absolute like eh, finding an excuse for everything, having and then just blaming life for how you are,
Mm-hmm.
to then finding that strength like that?
I mean, would people consider what I did and went through that weekend a rock bottom? Is a rock bottom walking around the hills of Granada with one non-broken flip-flop, 6% battery, no cash, no prospects, no friends? Is that a rock bottom? Might be, but it's subjective, isn't it? It might rock bottom to other people might be getting kicked out of home and having to live, under the railway bridge for 4 months to get their life back together. I don't know, but it felt to me like this was another level of hole. I
Yeah,
don't know. I think something happened in those months after Gabby and I breaking up, that pushed me to the very limit where I realised that I couldn't carry on.
yeah.
So maybe some people do get for. I don't believe in the need for a rock bottom at all. I think if you can plan and you really want to stop drinking, you can sort it out. But other people, I think it depends on the type of drinker you are. If you're 24/7 drinker, you need a sign almost, I think. And I got a sign or a message. I don't know, but I didn't want to die.
It's just crazy, isn't it? Because you found some. Because like I said, let's be honest, and I'm sure you won't mind. You was an absolute waste of space. You had no mental strength at the time.
No.
I know you didn't. I know you didn't want to be that person because you are a good person, but alcohol literally sucked all that out of you, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's. I still find it a bit crazy about myself. Like my mum says, she was literally expecting a knock on the door. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Because I was that bad, and you was exactly the same. I can tell,
Hmm.
but I feel like some people might not be able to find that willpower, or that light bulb moment might not happen. So there must be ways. Do you know what I mean? Like that could save people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, obviously there are necessary interventions. I think I was getting close to an intervention because I think I was going mad. At that time in my life, I was going bonkers. I couldn't think straight, and my behaviours were erratic. I think if you'd seen me on the street, I wouldn't have looked well.
Yeah,
So
bit like a demon.
eh?
Bit like a demon, just wandering around Spain, mate.
um, so yeah, like maybe it was an almost or a definition of a rock bottom for me.
Yeah,
And
100%.
I think that the childhood I had and the education I had and the comparatively easy life that I had as a young person meant that that was a rock bottom for me.
Mm.
If I'd grown up in a very complex family situation and I'd run away from my youth problems with drinking, and further down the line, maybe a rock bottom is different for a person like that. I don't know, but I felt at my low. I'd reached what I would consider my lowest point
Yeah.
in
Well,
the
that's
whole
rock bottom for you, isn't it?
journey, and I just was not feeling it anymore. And I thought, right, do I have it in me? Do I have it in me? Turns out I
Mhm.
did, but I
Yeah, yeah,
wouldn't have done it without AA. Wouldn't have done it without succumbing to the reality and admitting it and accepting it. And then with regards to the sobriety part of it all, you pick up strength quickly if you can stay off the drink. And of course, there's a head fuck that goes with it, and that can last a good while. But there's no alternative. Do you know what I mean? That there is no alternative. What was the alternative for me? To drink like that for another 4 or 5 years and my liver pack in.
yeah,
There was no alternative. It was getting serious now.
yeah.
Mid-30s approaching. It was real.
Let's be
Um,
honest. Let's be honest. You probably wouldn't be here now, would you?
I honestly don't think. I think there'd been some kind of failure internally.
Or yeah, or you something bad would happen and you would. I mean, you could be on dialysis or something. Yeah,
Yeah, various things as well. And so the type of drinker I was, I was pretty lucky. I would say that I got out relatively unscathed in terms of being attacked and fighting
yeah,
and all
yeah.
those kind
That
of things.
famous, won't you?
Big time, man. Big time gobby shit. Like asking for it every week.
Yeah. What do you think? So, for say for someone who has listened to this, they know they've got a problem. They want to stop, regardless of what level of drinking they're at. What would be your advice? Like your steps, if you like. I'm not talking about the 12 steps, whatever they are. I've never done them, but what would be your? How do I say it? How would you advise them to get sober in steps? So
Step
number one, I think acceptance. Yeah, sorry.
Well, even maybe not that. Like step one, even if you can't accept it, you have to tell people. You have to find a community of like-minded people that will prop you up because they understand. Um, this question, your question there is more, I think, to someone who is my kind of drinker. Like
Yeah,
connection is, you are desperate for
yeah,
connection.
yeah, yeah,
There is
yeah,
no other way than reaching out for support. If you're a weekend offender and you don't think you need AA or something like that, the first step is to just look yourself in the mirror and say, all right, just admit it. You've got a problem. Stop denying it. It's patently obvious. You're 29 and you've been pounding it every weekend since you were 15, and it's making you sad, miserable, poor, and underachieving. At what point are you going to just look at yourself in the mirror and go, my name is X and I've got a problem? Because the second you do that, and I don't mean, oh yeah, I drink too much. I mean, look yourself in the fucking mirror and say, this, I've lost control of this. And when you can like admit that you've lost control of it, then you can start the next steps. Until then, I don't think you can. Because
acceptance is a huge thing, man.
yeah, because if you stop kidding yourself, then your behavior and your actions show that you're able to stop kidding others going forward. But
Yeah,
if you can't admit it to yourself, good luck, bro.
yeah,
Like, so step one and two, admit it, accept it, get support, whichever way around you want to do it. And that is the platform from which you build. They're the first two things you must do. You can't do this on your own.
no, I agree.
I mean, the irony is I long term ended up doing it on my own, but I couldn't
Yeah,
have done it without initial intervention.
yeah.
And then
And I
once you, no,
go
go
on,
on.
sorry.
No,
I
no, I
was just
think
going
what,
to say, I made it a lot harder for myself by doing it on my own for the first 6 months. And then when I went to AA, I felt comfort in knowing that I wasn't the only one, which was fucking mad to me because like you were saying about all the secret ways that you used to drink and stuff like that and all the plots. There's so many of us out there that are like that. But when you're doing that, don't you feel so lonely?
yeah.
And you're like, this is like what the things I've got to do, blah blah. And then when you find people that have done the same thing, like me and you, it makes you feel so much better because it's not that abnormal, and you can just accept that. Unfortunately, you've got an issue.
Yeah, and when you find out that it's not that abnormal, instantly there is a weight off your shoulders and less guilt as well. Because if every man and his dog are doing it, more or less, not quite, but you know what I mean. If
Yeah,
it's a
yeah, yeah,
national malaise, and there's, I discovered at AA in Seville that the city with the most AAs in the whole world is Glasgow. What a surprise!
yeah,
Per square, whatever, and so it's a cultural issue. So you're not the only one, but when you're that badly in it and deep in it, then you think you are. So the second you walk into AA or any kind of meeting or any kind of community with like-minded people, you are not the only scumbag in the room. And then your scumbaggery in your own head gets diluted. And then you start to piece together maybe why. So step one and two, accept, admit, go out for support. And then what maybe you and I didn't do, I did it eventually. I think I did it without even realizing. And then retrospectively, I look back on it and think, oh, I did actually initiate a plan. Then you have to fucking plan. You have to sit down with a pen and paper and work out what makes you drink, what you do in the run up to drinking, what motivates you to drink, how it makes you feel, and then create this battle plan around all of those triggers and behaviors and mindsets that helps you combat it. What do you mean a plan? Well, what if you don't have any kind of trigger or craving distraction? You'll succumb to them.
Yeah.
You know, so if you've got
Yeah,
six
yeah.
ways to deal with a craving, then you're better prepared than you were yesterday, you know.
Yeah.
So the ability, it sounds mental, but you have to plan your way to sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just have to repeat. I honestly think that once you've admitted it and you've got support, there is an acceptance that the ball has started rolling. And to keep pushing it down the hill, you've got to get your shit in order and you've got to get busy working out how to combat these feelings every day. Oh, my mind's going to be racing. Meditate. Oh, everything's awful. Gratitude. I'm a piece of shit. Positive affirmations. I need a drink. Distraction.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to go to this event. Oh, that's going to be triggering, and there's so and so going to be there. Don't go. You know, so suddenly you've got like this toolkit of things that you know that you're capable of executing that will help you not to drink for today. And I don't think that on month 15, day 11, I woke up and thought, I want a drink today. I think month 15, day 11, I woke up and thought, I'm going to repeat what I've been repeating for the last 15 months and just do that again today.
Yeah.
And then on year 4, I'm not thinking about drinking.
Yeah.
So, like, the early days are really important. What is your plan? You know, I've said it before. Are you telling me Vladimir? Well, that's a bad example. It sounds like he might have done. Just thought, got up one morning and thought, "Ah, fuck it, invade Ukraine." You know, that might have how it appeared at the time. But
Yeah, no,
countries don't invade countries on a 3-minute whim. They've got structures and stuff in place to go to war. It has to be the same because it's like it's the rest of your life. It's worth fighting for.
definitely. No, I agree. It will eliminate the chances of relapsing, and it will make everything a lot smoother if you know that you've got everything that you need.
Because also you've been trash talking yourself for 15 years and then suddenly you're practicing positive affirmations, and for the first time in your life, for at least 10 minutes a day, you're actually being nice to yourself. I was never nice to myself. I gave myself such a hard time all the time about the state that I'd slipped into. I talked to myself like shit every day for years and years. I hated myself, and the
Yeah,
words that came out my mouth, you know, mirrored that
yeah,
feeling.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you have to turn the tide of how you speak to yourself and how you think about yourself. And you can only do that by hanging around with other people that are the same, that make you realize that you're not that bad a person. And then maybe you can start to build on it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really hard for people to go, do you know what? I'm going to go to an AA meeting on Wednesday. But going to the meeting is part of the acceptance, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and it and you're going out of your way to do something to commit to being sober.
Mm-hmm.
Made plenty of time to go to the pub, and that was never just an hour.
No. No.
So yeah, no. AA's. I like AA.
So do
I only
I.
went like 3 or 4 times, but I liked it. If I could turn back time, not that I'd want to, and do it all over again, I would have gone to AA a lot sooner.
I personally think I used AA in the right way, and some people might think, "Oh, you selfish little prick." But I went to AA, garnered the strength I needed, identified that maybe it was a bit too negative and a bit too like,
Yeah,
you must have this label forever, and thought, I've got out of it what I needed to, and
yeah,
now I'm not going to go back again. Thank you, but what you've given me has given me enough strength, but I don't need any more of it.
yeah. No, I agree. I don't think that's a bad thing, mate. You've done what you needed to do. Not everyone has to be painted with the same brush. Do you know what I mean? What might work for someone might not work for the other. I
And you've got
personally don't. I don't need to be called an alcoholic for the rest of my life. Can't be asked for that.
no.
There's more. There's more to me than just being labelled an alcoholic. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
of course, mate. Of course, how can you label yourself an alcoholic when you're a personal trainer in great condition? I get it. The label is used as almost
A
to daily
reminder.
reminder
Yeah.
of the state you could be in,
Yeah.
and to repel the idea of drinking. I get that. I understand it, and I don't denigrate it whatsoever. But also, if you listen to me explain now what the way I did it, it might not work for you, but you have to accept it and you have to reach out to people.
100%.
And you might think, oh, I can't be asked planning. All right, don't plan, but plan.
Well,
Fucking
if
plan.
it's that bad, and your life is that bad, and you want to change that bad, you will plan.
I think so. Yeah, you have to want it. If you
If
don't
you want
want
to,
it, it's not going to happen.
no,
But most people that listen to this want it. So
yeah,
you've already put yourself in a positive position. If you listen to our podcast every week, that's because you want to get sober, or you are sober, and you need it to keep yourself sober, or you just like the motivation around it. But that's because your mind has already gone into this. Right, like going in the early days of sobriety, finding 3 or 4 podcasts that you like is part of the plan,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, yeah. It's. I think it's free knowledge, and you're learning, and you're getting tips and tricks, and I just think it's fucking valuable. So valuable because there's not enough stuff out there. I mean, what can you do? Go on Google. Google's going to give you the worst fucking answer you ever want to hear. And Google's going to be able to expect you to jump through hoops on day 3. It's going to say, oh, your withdrawal should have gone by now. But it's not like that. So if you are taking time out of your day to watch and listen podcasts, or you're replacing your time that you used to spend down the pub by listening to a podcast, even if it's not this one, if it's another one that you get something out of, you're on the right step because your stuff is going into your mind, and eventually it will stick.
Of course it will. Yeah, it takes commitment to create a podcast for 27 weeks on the bounce like we have. It also takes commitment to listen to it 27 weeks on the bounce. If you've listened to us every episode from the start, and there are people that have, thank you, by the way. I guarantee you will be in a better position than you were before, even if you're still drinking. You posted on Sober Stretch the other day your carousel of your story, which was massively well received, and there was one lad who wrote underneath it, "Thanks, Craig or guys," and I remember his name because I had a little message back and forth with him way back when we first started. He's like, "Cheers, Craig. I'm 7 months sober. I can't believe it."
Yeah, mad.
I was like, "Mate," and I remember the lad's name, so I'd like shot him a comment underneath. It's because he committed to listening to us every week. It's because he committed to not going out with his mates every week. It's because he committed to blah blah blah. You have to make a commitment.
Yeah,
There's no secret. There's no secret blagging it out the way. People go, "Oh, Gary, how did you get sober?" Graft, determination, persistence, courage. You know, and the qualities you need to get sober, and once you get sober and stay sober, are great qualities to have. Ones I didn't have before: resilience, more emotional intelligence, more self-awareness, better self-esteem, kindness, consistency. All things that are working well with SoberNSound now and Sober Stretch. Everything that I practiced relentlessly in the early days of getting sober are now things that I've implemented in my life that make my life fulfilling and exciting.
yeah, man. It's I was gonna say to you how much better is life, but it's just impossible to say, innit?
Wow.
Do you feel like you've sort of you've fully had 2 different lives, and you're like a different person. You're like reborn.
I feel like my second life began at 33, much like Jesus. Yeah, completely. I don't think I'm a different person. I still think I'm the same guy with the same sense of humor and the same
Yeah.
outlook. Because even as a drinker, I was very positive. I had like always optimistic, but internally I had this battle. But externally, super positive, super optimistic, super upbeat, good
Yep.
company to be around. I wasn't a drain on people. If anything, I was even sober. Like quite an outgoing character. And now I'm just probably the same, but without all the other shit. So it is two different lives, yeah.
Yeah.
But I've said it before, and I want people to know that this is possible. When I stopped drinking, I had a person around me, a good friend around me at that time, and I upset him. And we lost contact for a couple of years. And about 4 years later, I moved to Barcelona and we became friends again. And I lived with him and we worked together for years. And, outrageously good friend. And he said to me, and this is for everyone to listen to, do you know the best thing about you, mate? You're still the same person. You just don't drink. So, like, I hadn't overhauled my personality. I just stripped all the shit back to reveal the good version that people knew was in me anyway. Do you know what I mean? I hadn't really changed. I didn't become like a boring prick.
I used to be scared that when I quit drinking, I was gonna become someone new, and I was scared that I wouldn't like that version of me.
Interesting.
And I feel like a lot of people do get scared. They get scared that they're going to become someone new. It's like, nah, you keep all your good qualities. Like, you don't just out of nowhere just stop drinking and then go down the library and start fucking reading books and become vegan. Like, it don't work like that.
A lot of people do.
You
I know
if you
exactly what you
do,
mean. Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. But you're still the same person, but you find joy in simple things. You learn to enjoy life without having to have a drink to make it fun.
Yeah, and your positive traits bloom and like
Yeah,
flourish
man.
more.
Yeah.
It's like you take the lid off and everything just grows. That's what it feels like. Sobriety is taking the lid off your, stewing shit. Take the lid off and just, you know, let be unleashed on the world as a better version of yourself. It's a ride and a half, baby.
Mm. Should we leave it there?
Think so. Nice ending. Let's next week we'll reverse it and I'll pick your brain about yours.
Yeah, nice.
Because I think a lot of people that are early on might look at me and think, "Fuck me, 10 years is such a long time."
Seems like a
Might
long
be more relatable even to talk to someone who's banished so many demons, and you're still it's still quite fresh in the memory. I
Yeah,
love that
very.
post. That post the other day was mega. The one that got me though was you on a sofa. You looked like you were about 14 with a bottle of Heineken in your hand. You know
Oh,
the
yeah.
mate. How
Yeah,
old were you in that photo?
about 16 maybe,
16, mate. You
maybe
look
15.
you look so young.
Yeah, mate.
And
Yeah.
obviously I knew what came after it, because it was the same for me.
Yeah, man. Like, it's the cycle of a drink problem. You can see it setting in, and like, you could just see it setting in someone. Like, people could see it in me, but I couldn't see it. I just thought, nah, nothing wrong with me. Nothing wrong with me. And then it was there. It was
Yeah,
there.
no, and everybody was right. There was
Yeah,
plenty wrong with me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a stubborn fucker, so I probably didn't want to be wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Oh well.
No.
Your time comes when it comes, but like if it's bad, bad, you have to make your time come as well. It's like a meeting of the two things. It's like the rock bottom or the lowest or a very low part comes into your life at the same time as where you want to really fix it, and they kind of meet and they mold into one, and then
Yeah.
it's that is the catalyst. So yeah, my catalyst just unfortunately was very depressing and very hard. But here we
But
are,
if it's
decade
not going to
later.
be something that fucking rocks you, you're not going to change.
No, exactly. And then 10 years later, you're the 54th most influential sober influencer on the planet.
Yeah. No, well deserved. Well deserved.
Just
You
goes to show,
fucking
though,
smug
you can,
prick.
yeah, smug knobhead. But joking aside, like, I mean, that doesn't mean anything. But I said the other day on a story, it's the bigger message in it. It's the bigger picture. Like, you can be a person that drinks vodka and cranberry juice on a Monday morning before work because it doesn't smell too bad, and then become someone that inspires others to stay sober. That's just how life works. If you do your thing.
Yeah, man. Like, I don't listen. I don't find likes and followers and stuff like that impressive. What I find impressive is the thousands of people that would have changed because of you. Could have saved lives, mate. Genuinely could have.
Hopefully. Do you know what, mate? We're going to stick with this, aren't we? We ain't going anywhere. I think we are doing a very good thing, and I'm proud of us.
Yeah, man. I like getting the messages and fucking finding out that I've helped someone and you've helped someone. I love that.
Great. Right, you're up next week then. Sweet.
And
Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the Sober Stretch on Instagram. We are on YouTube and Spotify under the Sober Stretch. Our episodes of the podcast come out at 3 p.m. every Sunday. And I'm on at SoberNSound on Instagram. All things sobriety and alcoholism. Craig.
Instagram at livewithoutlimits_coaching. Health and fitness related content.
Nice. Cool. People follow us, subscribe us, share us. We are fucking awesome and we work hard. Yeah, share the love. Hope you have a great week, mate. Have a nice Sunday. What are you up to today?
I'm going to see my family.
Nice. Safe.
Yeah, man.
My stepdaughter's best mate's just arrived, I think, from Hertfordshire. So they're going to tear around the house all day.
Unlucky.
And I'm gonna stay in another room.
Yeah. And meditate.
Meditate, yeah, and tell myself how great I am. Positive affirmations. Wicked.
Yeah, boy.
All right,
Sick,
mate.
man.
Take
Nice
care.
one, man. Well
Peace.
done.
Safe. Cheers.